Shwmae pawb, welcome everyone. Croeso to the second optional session for the module Anghenion Dysgu Ychwanegol Ragoriaeth mewn Ymarfer, ALN Excellence in Practice. So the aim of the second optional session then is to build a little bit on what we've covered with the module so far and to start to think ahead in terms of what is coming up next, including a recap of the assignment that we've looked at previously. So during the optional session this evening, we will have the opportunity to share our reflections related to Core Strand 1, which looked at whole setting approaches to inclusion, and Core Strand 2 activities, which related to strengths and weaknesses of whole setting inclusion processes. We'll then start to look ahead to Core Strands 3 and Core Strands 4, which is the focus of the asynchronous reading materials from this week onwards, for example. So Core Strand 3 then looking at analysing key challenges that create barriers to whole setting approaches. And Core Strand 4 starting to reflect upon the skills needed to both engage and challenge key stakeholders, in particular to implement change within settings. We'll also start to plan ahead to the second National Saturday Conference, which is on Saturday the 15th of July. And again, we'll have a quick recap of the assignment. Again, there is updated guidance on Canvas and PebblePad in relation to this. We'll also take a quick look on Canvas and PebblePad to show where the resources are, and then you have the opportunity to ask any questions or discuss anything that you would like before we close. So as a quick recap then, during Core Strand 1, some of the key points that you would have considered in your reflections and on the first conference Saturday related to discourses, attitudes and perceptions of disability in education, and in particular the differences between the medical model and social model of disability, for example. You also had the opportunity to consider how these discourses and attitudes might influence prejudice, oppression and marginalisation of some learners. We focused on neurodiversity, and in particular neurodiversity in education, and we also considered the importance of learner resilience and the potential impact of developing and supporting a growth mindset. For Core Strand 2, the aim of this then was to focus a little bit more on person-centred planning and reviews to reflect a little on current policies within your settings, thinking about meeting your professional standards as teachers, and then focusing a little bit more on how we can communicate effectively with learners and ensure that learner voice and learner rights are embedded within our settings. So we'd covered Core Strand 1 and Core Strand 2 during the first national conference. Now this is just a quick introduction to the second national conference, which will take place on Saturday the 15th of July. And this offers a brief outline to the day. So session 1, for example, will be focusing this time on Core Strand 3, which will be looking at analysing some of the key challenges that create barriers to whole setting approaches. And session 3 in the afternoon will focus on Core Strand 4, which is reflecting upon the skills needed to engage and challenge key stakeholders to implement change. Our Ask the Expert for the day is Professor Jonathan Glazard, who will be providing us with a short presentation followed by a more in-depth Q&A session based on that. So as we said then, moving forward from this week, the focus of your asynchronous reflective activities is on Core Strands 3 and Core Strands 4. And in terms of Core Strand 3, these are some of the key points that you're going to be reflecting upon over the next few weeks. So you're going to be thinking about the importance of collaboration and multi-agency working, thinking about multi-agency working and any impacts, both positive or negative, that have come since the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll think a little bit about how services might be commissioned to meet learner needs, and link into something that the experts talked about on National Conference 1, which is networking and working across clusters. Excuse me. And we're going to think a little bit about leadership across clusters, barriers and challenges to effective cluster working, skills, attitudes and expertise that are required for ALNCOs to be successful, some of the barriers and challenges to developing those skills, attitudes and expertise across settings, and also different ways in which settings can share best practice, for example through networking and measuring the success of the ALNCO function. And core strand 4 then is going to be focusing in particular upon implementing change within education settings. So there will be a focus on key theories of change management, how to engage and challenge practitioners in supporting change, the importance of people's core beliefs and gathering evidence to support change. So what do we mean by evidence? Where does this evidence come from? And exploring some of the challenges that as practitioners we might face within our settings to try and implement change. So just want to spend the next few minutes going through a quick recap of the assessment. And the assessment then, as we noted previously, is made up of two parts. So part 1 is an audit, which is 2,500 words in length. And this will ask you to identify effective practices in your setting for whole school inclusive approaches. You will consider what barriers exist and how these might be overcome. The second part, which we will focus on a little bit more on the second national conference, is an online presentation, which will be very similar to this recorded PowerPoint, for example, where you will provide an overview of some of the findings from your audit with analysis of some of those key challenges creating those barriers in your settings. And although this is a 1,500 word equivalent assignment, as noted in the conference, the more important quantifiable aspect here is 12 minutes in length. You will submit your work as one single Word document where you can embed the link to your online presentation. And I know not everyone within the group is in an ALNCO role, so do you have to be an ALNCO to complete the assignment successfully? And the answer is no. So going on to those different aspects of the assignment again in a little bit more depth. So thinking about the audit, it was suggested that first of all you start off your audit with a brief 500 word introduction to the setting. So you will introduce your setting, you will introduce your role within the setting, and you will provide a general overview of current ALN provision and ethos within the setting. The main focus of the audit then, 2,000 words, will ask you to provide an audit of the overview of current provision for ALN learners. Now on the assignment guidance document, which is on Canvas and PebblePad, you will see that there is a grid where there is the start of a worked example, for example, to show you how to set this out. And as noted on the national conference, you do not have to present your assignment using that grid, although the headings for that would be effective. However, you may want to use that grid to support some of your key points as a starting point when you are planning your assignment. It's suggested then that you focus on no more than 3 examples of evidence within your setting. So 3 examples across 2,000 words is roughly 666,000 words each. And some of the themes you might want to consider include person-centred practices, collaboration, partnership working, universal learning provision, targeted learning provision, that graduated response to learning provision, attitudes and understanding of staff, general school ethos, parental engagement, for example. It's also suggested that you try and make your audit smart. In other words, the areas that you are looking at in particular when you are going to be setting targets in terms of building on these in some way should be specific. They should be measurable, they should be achievable or attainable, they should be relevant, and they should also be time-bound rather than open-ended. And in your kind of more in-depth discussion of the relevance of these targets and the areas that you have chosen, you will be asked to make links in your discussion to evidence from literature, legislation and policy, which can include linking to policy documents within your setting. Second part of the assignment then is the presentation, and the presentation should include the following points. So you should have a general overview of findings from your audit, in other words from part 1. You should start to go through in a bit more detail analysis of some of the key challenges in the whole setting, and reflect upon the skills and actions and also strategies that you might need to engage with and challenge key stakeholders. Again, you are asked to make links to legislation, literature and policy in your response. And your presentation then should be between 4 and 8 slides, which doesn't include the title slide and also a reference list slide at the end. Again, there is additional guidance to creating the presentation, which is available in the assignment document on Canvas, and the same document is also available on PebblePad. And again, it's suggested, for example, that you use visuals to support your presentation. Although 1,500 words was given as a word equivalent guide, there is no expectation that you have 1,500 words on your presentation, and it's suggested that you record your presentation either as a PowerPoint recording, or you might want to record it on Teams or Zoom, and you can convert that to a link that you can paste into the assignment that you will submit. One thing with the recording, it is suggested that we will need to see you recording. Therefore, if you are presenting this and recording it using the PowerPoint function, you will need to make sure that your camera is on so that you are visible. So what should I be doing now then? So as we've suggested, we've looked at core strands 1 and core strands 2, and we've covered these in the first National Conference Saturday. Our second National Conference Saturday is on the 15th of July, which will focus on core strand 3 and core strand 4, and which include Professor Jonathan Glazard as our Ask the Expert presenter for the day. So between now and then, to continue to work your way through the reflective activities on PebblePad to support your discussions on the day, and also to inform your assignment due in at the end of August. Just as a quick reminder, where can I find the resources that I'm meant to be looking at? So there are reflective readings and activities up on PebblePad. And going through these, you will see that there are some hyperlinks embedded within PebblePad. Now, just a quick word to mention here. Going through PebblePad at the moment, there are a lot of hyperlinks. However, the key thing to remember, the readings linked to the activities on PebblePad are expected reading, whilst any hyperlinks that are embedded within the general text on PebblePad are purely there to support your ongoing reading, rather they are optional. The National Conference 1 PowerPoints and recordings are available on PebblePad, and these are also available on Canvas, and the assignment guidance is on PebblePad as well as on Canvas too. So can't see this very well potentially on this slide, but on the left hand side of the screen, for example, for those of you who are unsure where this is a screenshot from the course homepage, which shows you the different guidance document linked to the assessment. So we've got the assessment information in both English and Welsh, we've got the marking rubric, and then we've got an overview of the course assessment on that page as well. And then on the right hand side of the PowerPoint, we've got here, this is your kind of home page where you link into the module on PebblePad. So we've got core strands 1, 2, 3 and 4 as the tabs going across the top of the screen. And then we have the resources tab. And if you click on the resources tab, the first one takes you to National Saturday 1. And if you click on that, we can see here, for example, in the middle of the PowerPoint, you've got here the hyperlinks to the PowerPoints that were used on Saturday. And we've also here got the hyperlinks to the recordings from the sessions. So the session recordings have been converted to YouTube links, and these are embedded on PebblePad. These are also available to you on Canvas if you take a look at the National Conference Saturday 1 area. National Saturday 2 will follow a similar pattern as we get closer to that date in July. And then again, going back to the resources tab, if you click on the assignment documents, you can see here some information at the bottom of the screen from the assignment brief. And there is also a link taking you to the assignment document, which again is embedded on PebblePad, which is also available to you on Canvas. Again, just wanted to mention this briefly. So in terms of your assignment, it was noted that you will need to make reference to literature and legislation, for example. Now, some of these will be available to you as those links on PebblePad. However, you might want to widen your reading further. And again, there are a range of places that you might want to find information from. So you might want to try going into Google Scholar, for example, and looking to see, depending upon the search terms you use, what type of information comes up there. Equally, logging into your Swansea University student account, you can go on to iFind. And also you might want to take a look at the resources that you've got available to you when you log into your Hub account. Finally then, if you have any questions or feedback and you are unable to make it to the optional session this evening, my contact details are available on Canvas, so please get in touch by email. Alternatively, we do have the discussion and question sessions available on Canvas as well, where you can click on the link and message me directly through Canvas if you would prefer. So those of you that are able to make it this evening, I look forward to catching up with you then. If you're unable to make it, if you have any questions, then please just get in touch. Best wishes and hwyl for now. See you soon.